Before we jump into this video, I got something very serious and very important to talk about. So if you guys follow my little brother Cameron, you guys know what's going on. If not, let me fill you in. So he's battling cancer for the third time now. As we speak, he's in Mexico right now getting treatment, and we all could really use a prayer and some help. So if you guys have it in your heart to help out, want to help out our family and Cameron when he's battling this freaking cancer for the third time, just send a prayer for one. That's the most important thing. Send a solid prayer for Cameron. Number two, he's actually, if you haven't been following him, he does kind of the same thing I do, but with dirt bikes. He built this immaculate CR250. He's had it for like 5 years. I think he has like 4 hours on this bike. He hasn't even ridden it yet, but he's doing a fundraiser with that bike to raise some money for his cancer treatment. So if you go on his website, primemx.com, you can either donate to the cause, you can buy something off his website. He's got clothing, he's got a bunch of cleaning supplies, cleaning wheels, like buffing supplies, a ton of different stuff on his website. Every $10 you spend on the website gets you one entry into win the bike. And he's doing this fundraiser for a month, just trying to raise some money. As you guys know, cancer treatment is not cheap, especially when you're going into another country to do it. Insurance is not covering it. He's paying this all out of pocket. So he could really use some of your guys' help. If you guys have it in your heart, feel like you want to help out, I'll have his website linked down below where you can find that donation. We would really appreciate any donation, even if it's just a prayer. Anything is appreciated. Well, with that being said, guys, let's get into this video. What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. It is time to get our steering all figured out on this Land Cruiser so that we can finally finish our suspension. So behind me here, I got a new GM style column. This isn't an actual like GM column, it's more of a universal column. We got a steering wheel, we got some mounts for it here, actually 2 mounts to be able to mount it through the firewall and up on the dash to actually hold the thing in place. So let's open this stuff up. Let's figure out what we got to do to get this steering column mounted up. I think it should be pretty easy, being that it's kind of a universal. I mean, you can see it's a 2-inch column, and then I have these mounts that fit right over that 2-inch column that we can mount onto the dash and onto the firewall. We will have to make a plate to go through the firewall to make our mount for the lower mount, but that should be pretty simple. And then the only other issue that I'm kind of seeing is I don't have any seats at all in this FJ. So I don't really, it's kind of a shot in the dark at how far to move that column. I do have the stock one. I did measure it. It's about 14 inches, which is sticking way out. It seems like, at least a lot of pictures I've seen, people move that in. So I'm going to probably move it into like 11 or 12. I measured all my other trucks, and it's obviously a little bit different setup, but from the dash to the steering wheel was about 10 or 11, and that one is about 14, which, I mean, that thing is just set up weird. It's a huge steering wheel because these don't have power steering from the factory, so you got to have all that leverage, and that steering wheel is just kind of sitting in your lap. So I am going to suck it in a little bit. The good thing about these mounts is they're going to be all adjustable. So this one, you can see it slides over. It's kind of like a socket, a ball and socket mount. You can pivot it, but the good thing about these is we could, if we do want to move that steering wheel, all we would have to do is buy a longer steering shaft, and then we can either move that column up or move the column down to get our steering wheel length right. And the good thing is these steering shafts, they're not that expensive. They're like $50 from Borgeson for the shaft that goes from here up to what we're gonna mount to our column. So let's get all this stuff ripped out. I did already take it out, and you see I did kind of scratch it up a little bit just because I had to get this thing somewhat in place so that I can measure and order up my steering shaft. So I did kind of already check it out, but we're gonna rip it out. This is a big reason that I wanted to do this steering column is it's got a GM connector on it, and the whole painless wiring harness that I'm gonna use in the truck it's already set up for this harness. So it's literally gonna be plug and play, and it just makes it so much easier. And it's a tilt column. It's gonna be a lot nicer having tilt. Well, we got a couple issues right off the start. For one, I tried to put the steering wheel on this hub adapter, and the inside bore of the steering wheel is smaller than the little lip on the hub. So we're gonna have to cut that lip off. Then I went to screw in the screws for the steering wheel, and there seems to be a bunch of powder coat or paint inside these threads. So we're gonna tap the threads out, and then we're just gonna grab this hub and sand off the lip that's supposed to kind of center the steering wheel. These bolts are countersunk into the steering wheel, so it's still gonna center just fine, but obviously we're not gonna be able to bolt this thing onto this hub with the bore not matching. So we'll have to cut that off. Shouldn't be a big deal. Clean these threads out, and then we can work on getting this column mounted up. Well, yeah, I'm sure some of you guys guessed it. This isn't gonna work. This horn is designed to fit inside of this actual hub. Now that we cut off that lip, it's gonna be just flopping around in that steering wheel. So I found another hub that actually has measurements, and that lip measures right for the steering wheel. I don't know what's up with this one. This must just be a cheap POS, because obviously that's not gonna work. So I bought a new one. This is gonna work for now for mock-up and everything. The other one's the same dimensions, but everything with that lip looks like it's gonna work right for the horn and that steering wheel. So let's get to mounting this up. What we gotta do, I honestly don't think I'm going to use that little clamp, this one here, just because it's way too short, and I'd have to pretty much redesign this bracket to hold it in. So I'm just gonna return that one. I'm gonna use the factory clamp here, which is super simple. It's just a little strap that sits over it, and we'll just have to bend that up a little bit to get it to fit. And as far as the bottom goes, this one's gonna be super easy. We'll just have to slide that on, and then we'll just cut a plate for the hole in the firewall here, right there. We'll cut a plate to go over that, and then we'll cut a hole in that plate for the steering column to go through, and this adapter here, and we'll clamp that on. And the cool thing about this is that just, you can pivot it. If I can do it with one hand, you can pivot it. It's like a ball and socket, so you can pivot that wherever you need it, at it pretty much any angle you need. Obviously we're not going to max it out. It's a pretty severe angle, so that's going to work. Let's get this on, get this strap bent up and mounted up, and we'll see where we need to mount this thing. Well guys, this is not gonna work. I've redone this shock tower twice now, and I just took a educated guess on where my steering column would land, and it's honestly sticking out farther with the joint, with the Borgeson U-joint in there. So needless to say, I'm kind of extremely over these plate style mounts. Now I really wanted to do plate because for one, I like the style of it. For two, after I built them, I was kind of invested. After I built this driver's side twice, I'm even more invested. So I was kind of stuck on just making them work, but I think I'm gonna have to switch it up. I think I'm just gonna go tube. It's just gonna create so much more room for everything. So I think that's the game plan. It's gonna, like I said, it's gonna create more room for the steering shafts, and also not having that plate coming down on the frame is gonna create some more room for a bump stop. So that's the plan. It really sucks. I've wasted so much time and so much money. Like always, like you guys know this build so far, I've redone just about everything on it at least once. I guess that is the way fabrication goes when you are basically building a vehicle from scratch. At least all the suspension, I mean, we're doing motor swap, suspension swap, we cut the frame apart. I mean, there's so much going on. It's kind of hard to predict all your problems. You kind of have to just build it and then I guess find the problems and rebuild it. So that's the game plan. I'm gonna go get some 1 3/4 DOM. I'm gonna bend up some hoops. That shouldn't take too long. I'm just gonna kind of do like build some standoffs off the side of the frame, just because that steering shaft, I can't put a tube on top of the frame because that's where the steering shaft is gonna go. So I'm gonna have to do a little standoff off the outside of the frame, do a hoop up, put 2 little tabs, and then figure out our gussets, and then a crossbar. I'm just gonna go right, I think I could sneak a tube right over the top of the intake manifold to tie the 2 tubes together, and we should be done with it. It should work. But in the meantime, while I'm waiting, I gotta go to town later on. So in the meantime, I'm going to get the steering column plate worked out. So I'm gonna get the factory column. I'm gonna just kind of trace that plate, and then I'll cut my center hole for our new shaft and our new mount, and then we'll cut that out and we'll get that all mounted up. Let's talk about powder coating real quick. Now this is still one of my go-to coatings just because it is so fast, so easy, and it's extremely durable. These parts we're doing today, I want a quick turnaround. I don't want to wait 2 days for paint to dry and harden up. I just want to coat these things and put this thing together. So we are going powder coat. We're using Stone Black. This is from Prismatic Powders, one of my amazing sponsors of the channel. If you guys want to check out any powder coat, go head over to prismaticpowders.com. They have a huge selection of colors, powders. They have just about any powder you'd ever need. Go check them out, prismaticpowders.com. Also, if you guys are wanting to get set up with powder coating, it's honestly pretty cheap and easy to do. I use just a regular household oven. I bought this used off of Facebook for like 50 bucks. And then the powder coating gun I use is a Redline Easy 50. This is a pretty decent gun for what you get for the price you pay for it. It's about $400 now, but honestly, it works amazing. I've had it for years and it's never gave up on me. Like always, I'll have all this stuff linked down in the description box. right, guys, we are done. Powder coating, like I said, took about a half hour. It is cured up, dried up, and it's gonna work perfect. So this shaft, my new shaft, is supposed to be here today, but I haven't got that yet. So we're gonna switch gears a little bit and we're going to hop on shock towers. So I'm going to, like I said, pull these plate ones off. Actually, I'm gonna leave them on there for now just so I can make sure these are at the same height. The new ones, I got some 1 3/4 DOM over there. I basically plan on just coming up from like right here, come up, do our bend, and I think I'm gonna swoop it back a little bit more, maybe back into there. And like I said, I'm gonna have to make little pedestal mounts off the side of the frame here because I can't go on top. You guys know the problem we're having is the steering shaft. It basically goes along the top of the frame, so we gotta move our mount out to clear that. That's the whole reason we're changing this. So let's grab the bender, grab our tube, see what we can come up with. we are making some progress on these shock hoops. Now I decided to flex out this suspension just to make sure we have clearance everywhere. And I found out we can gain about 1 inch of up travel if I just shorten these tabs up. Now, good thing I did make these shock hoops a little bit taller than I originally planned, just in case I was able to get any more up travel. I want to squeeze every last inch of up travel out of this thing. So we're going to cut some shorter tabs, about 1 inch shorter, and then also some little gussets for these tabs, or kind of enclose them in just to beef it all up. And then we're going to build a crossbar to tie these two hoops together. I am finally happy, guys. I actually cut 3 different tabs just because the first ones I cut were a little too short, and the shock ended up being like right underneath the shock tower, and I wasn't able to get the bolt out. So I had to kind of revise that, bump that out. You know what I realized? I'm so picky. I don't know how I'm ever going to get this project done, but we're going to keep on working. So I'm happy with that. We're going to leave that for now. I want to build a crossbar to tie the tops together. And look at this. This piece was something that I was making for the cross member a while ago, and I messed up a bend in it, but I'm going to be going right over the top of that. You can see this side does have kind of a weird, like an S bend to it. So I'm not sure. I do want to make it removable. So I'm going to take a piece of tube and come off here with a little flange on it that I can bolt together. I think that's what I'm going to do. But we'll see if we can make this piece work. Like I said, that side's perfect, but this side's got this weird bend. Honestly, I might see if I can straighten that out a little bit in my tube bender. I think it'll probably kink this side, but I'm gonna try it. See, I don't know. We're gonna mess around with that, see if we can get this tube to work. Well, this is something I've needed for a long time, and I've been excited to try out. I've had this thing in the box for a while now and haven't really been doing any tube work, but now that we got to use this notcher. This is the Versa notcher from Rogue Fabrication. Now, while this is a little more expensive than some of the other notchers out there, this thing will do just about anything. You can see here there's an adjustment to rotate this basically 180 degrees. This whole shaft here, you can see, slides up and down, so you can do offset notching on your tube. So I've needed this thing for a while. Like I said, I have one that mounts in a drill press. It's super cheap one from Harbor Freight. It's like 80 bucks, but there's only so much you can do. This thing, you can cut a notch in any tube through a bend on a straight at basically any angle. You just get it where you want it. You lock it down and you notch it out. And this one you do use a drill on. So we're gonna try it out. I'm gonna take a piece here and notch it for this tube coming up. So we're gonna have to calculate this angle here for the notch. And then I'm gonna, like I said, put a plate and on both sides so they can bolt together and bolt onto this. So I can pull this thing off because it is going over the intake here. So it needs to be removable. Well, I wasn't really digging the tube at first, but with this crossbar in there, I don't know, something about that, even just the bends, maybe it's just the extra couple bends that are in it. Not that I kind of even meant to do that. That was just a piece I already had, but I really like it. Turned out sweet. So we are tacked together. I'm gonna pull these coil mounts off just because I want to weld in the tops of these mounts, that mount. I want to get up underneath here and try to weld the inside and outside of both of these mounts, which is going to be so much easier on the table. And then we're going to get this thing back together. I want to build gussets for here, but my steering shaft still isn't here. It's been like 3 days past when it was supposed to be here, still not here. So I don't really want to build a gusset right now because I want to make sure it's clear, and I'm gonna have to do a hole for the steering shaft there. I guess we can do this side, front and back. That back one shouldn't be an issue. I kind of got a string tied up in the way there, and I think that is pretty close to where it's gonna be. Well guys, that's it. Finally got in this hub, and this thing works perfect. It fits honestly perfect. Everything works out great with it. I'll link that one down below if you are wanting to do this setup. But either way, we are done. We got this thing clearing. Steering shaft is clearing by, I don't know, 1/4 inch around that entire gusset there. So we are finally good with that. We have clearance for our steering shaft, obviously clearance for our coil over there. I think we're finally done with this suspension, other than we still need to set up our bump stops and limit straps. So I'm going to tackle that next video. I don't know if we're going to be able to fit those bump stops in front of the axle. We might have to come back here, which honestly won't be that bad. We'll just make a pad off this lower link bracket down here, and I think that'll work. Get our bump stops behind the shock there, as long as everything clears. But I am stoked. I honestly this is really growing on me, just how this tube looks, especially that crossbar. I don't know, something about those couple extra bends in that crossbar, I really like it. It looks really good. Well, if you made it this far in this video, I want to say thank you for watching. I haven't edited this video yet, but I know it's a very long one. So if you stuck it through the entire video, I do want to say I really appreciate all the support from you guys throughout the last, 5 years we've been doing this. Channel's growing slowly but surely, but I would not be able to do it without all you guys' support. So huge thank you to all you guys supporting the channel, supporting the merchandise, the hood struts, all my products I'm selling. It really helps out with these builds. These things, like I said, these are not cheap to build. I have so much money already wrapped up into the FJ. Well, anyways, I don't want to keep you guys too long. I'm gonna let you guys get on with your day. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Why don't you go smash that thumbs up button, comment, subscribe. We'll catch you in the next one.